is Lisbeth Borg, Waard, and I am the founder of Nordic Dog Trainer. Let me find my PowerPoint to share. There we go. Yep. Okay, so the topic today is the use of crates and specifically what Nordic Dog Trainer stands, where we stand, what we think, and why we have these opinions on using crates for dogs. This is a topic that is quite commonly discussed, which I think it certainly should be. I remember myself that in 2003, very specifically in 2003, because back then that's 20 years ago now, I had my own shop, like what you call it, a pet store, sorry, in English, pet store. So I remember specifically that year, it started becoming more normal to buy crates for puppies. So when the customers came in, they typically before they would ask for, you know, leash and food bowl and all these kind of things. But now we started adding a crate for the use of to be inside the house, not for transporting anything, but just to keep the puppy in a crate. We have for a very long time had laws here in Norway, where we are located, about securing goods in our cars. And unfortunately, we are no longer yet than still defining dogs as goods in a car. So dogs in cars in Norway have to be secured just like people. So actually the law states that it's secured because of the danger of something happening to the driver. They're not mentioning the animal. So you can choose if you want to use a crate in the car or a car safety belt, especially for dogs. The purpose being that the dog is not then, if you have to suddenly stop the car or something happens, that the dog is then thrown towards the driver and can, you know, create an even bigger accident. So that was kind of normal for quite a while, you know, for many years. I'm still, I'm old enough to remember when we didn't have these laws and we were all driving around with our dogs loose in the car. I wouldn't do that today, now that I know, but I also grew up in the 70s where kids didn't use seatbelts in the car. And now I think, of course, that's crazy. So this talk today is about crates with the doors closed. I just want to make sure that this is very clear. We're never, ever, I am not ever discussing crates with doors open or with no doors, because it doesn't make any sense, because that's just like another type of place for the dog to be. It's because he or she can choose if they want to go in and out at whatever time they want. So we're talking about crates with doors closed from the outside. Of course, we are closing the door. So I did something to create some attention to this. So I called it, I think something like why does Sweden ban crates, which tells me as well that luckily I have a whole country behind me when saying what I'm going to say today when we're discussing this topic, that Sweden has passed the law that dogs must not be kept in cages except on special occasions, at exhibitions, competitions and tests, training before competition in connection with hunting or transport, or of course at the vets, or if there is an accident or something like that. And the same text here is in in Swedish. So I Google translated it, but you can do it yourself as well if you don't believe me. This is the original text, yeah, from the Swedish law. And it's not that old. I think, 2008, 2000, maybe we have some Swedish people watching later. Maybe you can comment if you remember when you got this law, but it's quite recent. And when I say quite recent, I'm still thinking years, but not tens of years. But thankfully, they did get a law. And a few years ago, I was in contact with the Swedish Department of Animal Welfare because I was very curious how they managed to keep this law, how to get this law as a law, you know, forbidding the use of crates or cages. And actually, Sweden, now looking at the Swedish law for dog keeping and animal welfare, they have probably, I haven't read all the laws, obviously, of all countries, but from what I've read from different countries, this is the best one ever. I mean, so far. Really, it's very detailed. They even have in the law that you need to take your dog, an adult dog, outside to relieve him or herself every 6th hour when they're home alone. And puppies and sick dogs and senior dogs even more often. It's very specific in their law, the text. At the end of this PowerPoint, I have my references, so I can also copy and paste in the link to the Swedish laws, so you can go ahead and translate it yourself online. So the reason is that they got a group of not only veterinarians, but also behavior specialists when they were making the new laws in Sweden some years ago. So that's why it's very detailed and very, very dog friendly, I would say. They're really being an advocate for the dog, And that's why I'm doing this topic today as well, because I know a lot of people don't agree with what we think or have to say about this, but I am talking now on the behalf of the dogs. So Nordic dog trainer do not recommend the use of crates with doors closed. And again, I want to specify that this is as a regular use. So there are, of course, exceptions. We have to do that when we're transporting the dogs or in special circumstances. For example, if your dog is sick or get in an accident or something. And I have experienced all of these things, the traumas. I have, you see, I have all my answers ready for you. If you are in doubt and if you have a question, I would probably have most of the answers for you. Unfortunately, I've experienced a very, very traumatic incident with my own dogs when one got hurt. Twice this has happened. One on my dog broke his leg when we were out walking. I had several dogs, and you know, when he broke his leg, he was in pain, in really, really a lot of pain. So then having to be in a crate, even though he would be used to the crate beforehand, if I've spent a year or something of his youth helping him to be comfortable in the crate, he couldn't be comfortable in that crate anyhow, because he was, first of all, he was in a bit of a shock because it was a very sudden thing. He jumped, it was an Italian greyhound, and he broke it like right off. You know, we were in the woods, actually. I don't know if I'm going to tell you the story, actually. I had I think, give 6 dogs, and they were all of them were rehomed dogs. So this dog I've had for a year or so, and he had actually, when talking about crating, he had been crated for most of his life, and this is now not normal, but he really lived in a crate most of the day. So he hasn't even built his coordination or his muscles really well. And after a year not being in a crate, he has developed more muscles and coordination. However, he slipped on a wet stone, so he broke his leg. And I don't know if you know Italian greyhounds, but their legs are like, you know, very, very thin. And of course, it was extremely painful. So I carried him home, and then I had the 5 other dogs off leash. And luckily, I was living in an area with not many cars, but it was still a road there. And because he was in pain, I had to be careful carrying him, so I couldn't have the 5 other dogs on leash. So it's a very good thing I did already know the attention sound that I use. So I got the dogs to follow me off leash, and you know what I did? I try not to think about this episode, of course, but I actually walked in the middle of the road home, because all my other dogs were off leash. I didn't want to hold them on leash in case there were, you know, some tension to the dog I had to carry home. And then I walked in the middle of the road myself, with the other dogs walking next to me, so that the cars actually stopped, and some of them were very nice. They rolled down the window and obviously saw that there were some problems happening with the dog I was carrying, so they offered to drive me, but I was living very close by. But that's how I did it. Sometimes I do get questions, what if this happens, and what if that happens? In that situation, for me, the best thing was to have my dogs off leash and walk home. Same thing when I myself got a heart attack. I actually did get a heart attack when I was walking my dogs. I had them off leash. And so the attention sound, if you don't know it, you need to teach your dogs. It's really, really, really useful. Okay, let's move on and back to the crates. So to me, it's kind of obvious that no living creature with feelings prefer to be locked inside a confined space, no matter how big. But taking away the opportunity for you to choose when to leave that space is not something that we choose to do. If you choose, I claim that if you choose that other people will lock you in and they decide when to let you out, then you still have some issues that we need to work on. Yeah. So I hear a lot of the explanations why breeders, for example, are telling the puppy owners, the new puppy owners, they need to get a crate because it's like a den. And a den is a natural thing. But now they, you know, mixing this up with something which is not normal. A den is normal, but a den, first of all, it doesn't have any doors. So it's the mother that is deciding when the puppies can get in and out, and for others to get in. Yeah. And the huge difference is that a den is only when they are very, very young. So when they actually do get out from the den, that's when we humans, with our pet animals, start training them to use a crate, which we then call, for some reason, a den. So it's not logical to me at all. And also, dogs, we must not forget, the reason why we love our dogs is because they're amazingly social animals, very social. That's why We love them because they want to be with us and we want to be with them. So why would we start taking away that from their dogs? So isolating a dog in a crate is one of the most unnatural things we do to them, actually, taking them away from us. And when it comes to puppies, what puppies need is freedom of choice, not confinement. What we want is highly functional, relaxed, confident adult dogs. We don't know that we want them to be confident, but being confident means that you are not fearful, that you are not afraid of your environment. You feel mostly relaxed and fine and can cope with different situations. Every animal and humans, we can get scared if we hear a sudden noise or if something unusual is happening, then we can get scared. So being scared or fearful is normal in some situations, but it's not nice, doesn't feel nice for the dog either to go around being scared and fearful of normal everyday things. So that's why we want to teach and help our dogs. We can't really teach them to be confident, but we can do steps. So in a sense, and I'm getting very philosophic, I'm sorry about that, we do teach them to be confident, yeah? So imagine, first of all, we pick up the puppies very often when they are extremely young, 8 weeks old. If they were not a pet animal, they would have stayed much longer, maybe even the rest of their lives with their family. But we are taking them away from everything they know for the very short life they already had. So don't they have already enough on their mind? We should not start putting them in crates when they come to our home for the first time. That's not what you start doing. You shouldn't do it for the puppy. Your puppy needs to feel safe. So at night, he should sleep with you in the beginning until he feels more safe in his new home. But not in a crate. When you take him out, doing research for my Facebook Live today, I was Googling crates training, toilet training puppies, and I read so many disturbing things, very old-fashioned things, very, very bad advices, things we did in the 80s and 90s. We didn't know any better, or we should have known better, but yeah, it was more normal to do then. But now we do know better. We have a lot of signs. We know what kind of sleep they need. We know what lack of good sleep does to the body, mind, to everything. We do know a lot of things now. So that's another reason why we shouldn't do it. They're highly sociable. So don't put them, even if you are in the same room, it's not helping. I saw a very good webinars a few years ago by, I can't remember his, I think most certainly, is he American or British? I'm sorry, I can't remember now, but I will try and remember to put it in the link when I'm finished. I will find his name. Very good webinars about how social the dogs are and what it means to them, being even in a different room than us. So to get a confident, relaxed, grown-up adult dog that feels secure, safe, not stressed, on a daily basis in the environment, you need to be able to get choices. And dogs by nature are very, very curious. one of the first things we do is to limit that curiosity when we get the puppy home. We start saying, no, don't do that, don't sniff, don't do this. Maybe we're scared because the puppy will pee inside or start chewing on something you don't want. But it's very easy for us to say no instead of finding options, other options for the puppy to do, because that curiosity is worth gold for you as a dog owner. Because if you allow your dog to be curious and to explore and use that curiosity, it will, in a big sense, help your dog become confident. And that's what we want. When it comes to toilet training then, because a lot of people, they recommend putting the puppy in a crate at night so that you can train them for not peeing inside. And I just don't, I don't understand the logic. We know puppies need to go out very, very often, and they have to go to the toilet after they sleep, eat, play, drink, basically the younger, the more often. If I have the puppy in my bed, I wake up. We humans normally wake up very easily when we have something we know we care about in the bed. Yeah. And I say that as a very, very heavy sleeper. I've never had an accident in bed. Never. Because I wake up immediately when the puppy is waking up, because that's what they do. They start moving when they need to go to the toilet. They are awake, and then they will move, and then you get up and take the puppy outside. There are so many not good things with being in a crate that even for the purpose of, if someone told me that, okay, but your puppy would be toilet trained much faster if you put in a crate during night, I would still never do it, because the downsides of using a crate is so bad, so bad. And like I said, as if they didn't have enough already, coping with losing their family, their siblings, everything they know, and now they have to be, excluded, socially excluded, being in a crate with a closed door. It's not what we should put our puppy through, really, if you want a happy, confident dog. So about the den, I already talked about that a little bit. It's normal to leave the den when they grow, not put it into the den, not start training them to use it. And the other dogs, the adult dogs in a group of dogs, they do not have doors. They don't close the den at all. Yeah. So you can't compare it. So like I said in the beginning, if you want to have a crate in your house, you can have a crate in your house. It will be another place for your dog to choose to go to if he or she wants to. Yes, a lot of dogs, it's a very good idea to have different places for your dog to sleep and to, if not hide, but to just go and relax, if we have visitors or if you have children and, they need a lot of sleep and to relax. So we should definitely always have many opportunities, many different places for the dog to sleep. That could be a whole other seminar, by the way, about sleep and how many places we should allow them to have. The key word here is the choice, yeah? So if you do want to have a crate, take the door away. Just remove the door. Just remove it, and it's fine. And then crating when they're home alone either doesn't make any sense to me, because it's taking away the opportunity to hide or to go in another room if your dog is already a little bit fearful. It's also taking away, oh, sorry, I wrote that twice on the PowerPoint, I can see. It also takes away the opportunity to go and check out if they hear something outside. If they hear a noise outside, they would go and check it out. Or not, if they feel safe and confident and don't have an issue, or they just used to the noise, different noise from the outside, that's also fine. But to have the ability to choose to go and check out what's going on, it's still very, very important. And I'm not even going to go there. Julia Robertson can, and Amber Batson will. Definitely go there to talk about the physics, what a small crate is doing to a body, especially a puppy or adolescent dog who's still growing. Also, there are stories, of course, horrific stories about dogs that are afraid to be home, and they're put in a crate, and then they try to get out of the crate because they're desperate and they hurt themselves badly by trying to get out of the crate. So if your dog is fearful of being home alone, a crate is definitely not the answer. The answer is something completely different. It's a training program. You go and find a good dog trainer who knows about behavior, so he or she can help you put together a plan to help your dog feel more confident and to train your dog to be home alone. This is very important because they are very social animals, and it's not a normal thing for a dog. It's not normal for them to be home, to be alone in a confined area. That could be a whole house or a room or a crate. So imagine if you put your dog in a crate, if you are scared of dark, okay? If you are scared at nighttime, would it help you if I locked you into your living room, if I locked the door from the outside? If your kids are scared when they go to bed at night because there could be a monster under the bed, would that help your kid if you locked the door from the outside? If you told your kid, oh, we'll make sure, mommy makes sure that there's no monsters coming into your room, so I will lock your door from the outside. I don't think so. It's the choice of that's really, really important. Also, confining a dog that has too much unused energy, it's just had the opposite effect. I can guarantee you that a dog that has a high level of stress for any reason, too much things happening around him, or too little things happening around it, or a young dog with a lot of energy, they need to explore, to be using their mental stimulation. They need to be occupied doing something. They need to use their brain and their body. They do not need to be confined in a small area, because those problem behaviors will then, they will come out, they will show, but they will show in a different way. And I have numerous examples of that when I've done consultations, one-to-one consultations. The first thing I'm trying to do is to help them stop using the crates. And you won't even believe it until you see it, seriously, how much the crates have on the importance, in a negative sense, have on the behavior of the dog. Very often, owners have put their young dogs into crates because they have a lot of energy and they're afraid that they will damage things when they're home, chew on furniture or whatever it is. They put it in a crate instead. And I can understand the reason why they're doing it, but it's still not a good idea to do it. So when we get rid of the crate and the dogs, we normally start with, can still have a confined area. If you have a dog that is chewing furniture and, you know, doing damage to your house, of course you have to do something. So we need to find a room and make that safe for the dog to be in, and you can use what you call baby fences or gates, or some, you can have something made. I've had things made, yeah. So it's a bigger room to be in, but you also have to, of course, do something about the cause of this behavior. But imagine a dog that is confined in a crate at nighttime, so let's say seven hours maybe, and then during the daytime when the person is working. And at least here in Norway, it's an 8-hour workday, and very few I know they work, you know, in the same building, so they actually have to go to and from work. Maybe they do shopping on their way back and so on. So you're actually gone for 9, maybe even 10 hours a day. So the dog is actually in the crate 17 hours a day. So the problems might even have started because the dog is too much in a crate. So crating, especially in these situations, is very often just adding to the problem. So like I said, and I say it again, dogs are highly social animals. To be separated from us, even to another room or in a crate in the same room, is potentially very damaging to their psychological being. So it can definitely result in a poorly socialized and even aggressive dog or a hyperactive dog. If you want to read more about that, I still have the references at the end of this PowerPoint. And potential problems is high stress, physiological, and learned helplessness. And okay, a lot of people are telling me, but my dog loves to be in the crate. He goes there every time I tell him to. So in the morning when I go to work, he goes into the crate. And then I ask, so what do you do if your dog is not going into the crate? Do you go to work, or do you just, you know, leave him not, he doesn't have to go in the crate? Well, what do you do? And then the answer is always, well, then I'll just lift him or I help him into the crate. And we know it's a bit unfair, isn't it? Because dogs are very easy to train. They're very easy to train. So, and when they know they don't have a choice, they will go into the cage. Yeah. And like I said, without a door, it's not a problem. So I think we should be honest to ourselves. And instead of saying that we're creating the animal to help the animal, we should be honest enough. You should have, to be frank, balls enough to admit that you are using the crate for your own convenience. Yeah. Because it's, it's more convenient for us. And yes, it can be less expensive as well because the dog is not ruining your house. If that is an issue, you still have to do something. There is a reason why your dog is chewing things, behaving like that when you're not home. He has problems. You have to help him. So putting your dog in a crate, locking the door from the outside, is for our humans, two-legged humans, the convenient thing to do. Because I will end with what I said in the beginning. No living being chooses to be locked inside a confined space from the outside. And if you do, you still would like I would recommend going to get some help if that's what you choose to do, to have taken away all the choices. Okay, I also translated the Norwegian law. I know that this is not, for most of you, this doesn't have any use. Norway is not, sadly, as good as Sweden on the welfare laws yet. Someday I'm hoping we will get there. But at least this is what they're saying. Small, narrow cages, such as transport cages or cage and crate. I use the same word. It's the same thing. For me, it's the same thing. Crate, yeah, crate, cage. Are not suitable as a place for the dog to stay over time, for example, while you're at work or at night. Such cages should only be used for short periods, for example, during transport, stables at the vet, in case of illness, or during competitions. If the dog likes to use the cage at a place to lie down, it must be allowed to, as long as you leave the door open. And they also have set some space, criteria for space. So this is what I tell my Norwegian customers, that you can't buy a crate in a shop with these sizes. I know that some of you are Americans or British, maybe you don't use the same, but you can go back and look in the new Google. I don't know what you use, but we use meters. So a small dog that the shoulder height is less than 40 centimeters needs the floor space to be minimum 2 square meters. And that's for the smallest dogs, 2 square meters. For mid-sized dogs, it's 3 square meters. And this is for one dog only. For large breeds, you need 5 square meters. And that's the size of a bathroom. So you don't get them in the pet shops, these kind of the sizes. And another thing people are telling me is that they have to be in the crate in the car anyway. So why don't I, why can't I just train him to be in a crate? Because being in a crate in a moving car is different from being in a crate inside a house. So if you want to train your puppy to be in a crate, in case something happens, or if you have to travel or something, of course you can do that, but it's definitely not what I would start doing with a young puppy. That's something I would wait, a long time to do, because it's just not very important. Because if it has to be in a crate because it's sick, then your dog is sick. Yeah. So you could have it trained for 3 years to be in that crate, but when your dog is sick or traumatized in a cage on the way to the veterinarian, which has happened to me twice, it doesn't matter how much they've been in crates. And in order to teach your dog to be comfortable in a car, you have to use the crate inside the car. So that's why that doesn't make any sense. So in our opinion, a crate is still a cage, and confining animals in cages is ethically problematic. And I would add highly problematic, especially for the use that we are now discussing, so many hours, so many pets are in cages. And now we're just talking about dogs. Can I have a live about other animals as well? The sad thing is the same thing is starting to happen with cats. Yes, it's true. People are starting to put their cats in crates when they leave home for work. So instead of using a crate, you need to help your dog to become independent and comfortable so he can handle life and be safe and secure and have the freedom to walk around the house when you're not there. And if you need to confine space, then you can use baby crates instead, gates, sorry, not crates, but gates. Something else that makes it at least a much bigger area, much bigger area. And either way, not for very long, not for very long. And here are the references that I've used in this PowerPoint, along with my own experiences. So this is where Nordic dog trainer stands. And you can't make us change our mind. If you don't want to have your dog in your bed or your puppy in your bed, that's fine with me. Then you just go and sleep on the floor when you get the puppy. Not forever, but when you get the puppy home. You take your mattress and you sleep on the floor. For thousands of years, we've had dogs, and only now, 20 years, we started creating them. This is also why people or the breeders, or I don't know who started this, but I've seen a lot of these booklets that the breeders are giving out to the puppy owners. And they say you should have a crate so your puppy can be there and feel safe and doesn't, hurt himself eating the cables or like something in the house. But it's never been an issue before. Why would it be now? If you have an issue about that, you have to do something. There are lots of other things you can do. The thing is that I told you when I had the pet shop in 2003, people were asking to buy crates for their puppy. First, I was like, what? I didn't understand. Sorry, but I was totally naive. And I was like, what do you need that for? Like, and it came very suddenly, became very popular because you see, it's convenient for us, and everything that is convenient is good. And really, for the last 20 years, we've gotten so much more knowledge about dogs, behavior, training methods, and a lot of really good knowledge. But this crating thing is really not one of them. That's something that we now I get consultations by people who's asking me how they can help their dog being home alone without being in the crate. They're not confident. They're very fearful. And we have a whole generation of dog owners that has never experienced that it's normal not to have a crate. So this is what I was so afraid of when this happened. When this crating business started to become very popular, I thought, oh no, the dogs are going to be like rabbits or hamsters or other poor animals, pet animals, rabbits, who are in crates. And now the last years, for quite some years now, they've been advocating why rabbits should not be in crates. They should have a lot more space than these small crates we've been using for these poor animals. So it's just a period we have to go through, I hope. And then we phase it out and we realize, oh no, it wasn't a good idea. So why can't you just have your dog home alone in, a room? But if you have a big room and you have big gates, and so that would be the same. Don't make this more complicated. Don't make it more complicated. And the puppies should not be home alone very much. Very, very, very little, if at all. Yeah. If you want to do that, to have gated off the whole room, of course, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I am glad I came out of the closet. No, I didn't. I've said this many times before. We do get a lot of questions about crates on our courses, and we all say the same thing. we are not particularly happy about it. And this are the reason why. And then we would much rather help people to find out what else they can do instead of using the crate if it is a problem. A lot of the dog owners that contacted me with problem behavior, like I said, you wouldn't believe it until you see it, seriously, because the crate is very often the only sole thing that is creating the problems in the first place. Just like short leashes versus long leashes on walks. So dogs are pulling less in long leashes than in short leashes and so on. It's true. And I can confidently say this after 12 years of doing this now with other people. Thank you very much. Bye.